Good morning, everyone. I'm today's presenter, Apple, and my instructor is Dr. B. Chi. And today my topic is English only, the linguistic choices of teachers of young Apple learners. This is citation. The researcher is Oprah Imra-Lowry, and this study was published by International Journal of Bilingual. And this is content, introduction, research question, literature review, methodology, findings, discussion, and conclusion, and the last is reflection. I want to introduce why YLLS means Young Language Learners, and TL means Target Language. The pedagogy has tended to ignore bilingual options, endorsing a predominantly monolingual policy, but the assumptions are being contested. Issues concerning mother tongue use are pertinent to teaching young language learners who are in the initial stage of being introduced to a new language. Israel has two official languages. First is Hebrew, and the second is Arabic. And English is their first foreign language. Purpose is to gain insight into the linguistic choice of Apple teachers in young language learner context and the beliefs that underlie them in comparison with findings established for older learner populations. There are three research questions. First is, what are the first language use patterns of teachers teaching young Apple learners in terms of frequency and purpose? And the second question is, can first language use patterns be accounted for by teachers' beliefs? And the third question is, can different tendencies be detected for different first languages? Literature review. Cummings have mentioned that the learner's first language plays a major role in facilitating this transfer, and instead of being silenced, needs a method that can activate and capitalize. And this researcher points out the teacher's role in young language learner program is viewed as paramount, for it's the teacher who mediates initial target language exposure and input, as well as introduce mental, linguistic, and intercultural concepts. Methodology. Participants have 6 teachers, and 1 teacher is homeroom teacher. 5 teachers are Apple teachers. They are all come from in different both schools. And each teacher was observed for at least 3 lessons. This is teacher's sample. You can see there are 3 teachers and 3 students. Their first language is Arabic. And 2 teachers and 3 students, their first language is Hebrew. And only 1 teacher, her first language is Russian. Data were collected by 3 tools. First tool is first language used in different parts of the lessons and focus on activities and different interactions. Second tool is teacher's self-report are adapted from the questionnaire and the previous research. Have 73 open and closed variable items. And the third tool is semi-structure were conducted in the language of the teacher's choice. Interviews about at least 45 minutes. And this picture you can see shows the teacher use from different percent.
So on the left hand side means no,
The picture shows teacher use how much percent they use first language to use. This teacher Ellen, she used about 20% first language to teach. So we give the 20% number 1. And this teacher used about 40% to teach. So number 2 represents about 40%. And these 2 teachers, they use about 60% to teach. So number 3 represents 60%. And these 2 teachers, they use about 18% first language to use. So number 4 represents about 80%. This is question 1. And this table can answer this question. We can see Nigel used about 75% first language to use, and Natasha, she used about 74% to use. So these 2 teachers, their position on the scale about 4. Sula used about 60%, and Rin used about 56% to use. So these 2 teachers, their position on the use scale about 3. Mary used about 30%. So the position on the use scale about 2. Emma only use 7%. So the position on the use scale is 1. Teachers' first language can be divided into 3 broad categories. First one is mostly first one language use, and the second is combined first language and target language use, and the third group is mostly target language use. We can use these 3 categories to answer these 2 questions. First group is Nigel and Natasha. Nigel holds the view that her role as a teacher in the low grade in the simply to provide exposure. And Natasha, she using the first language for teaching young language learners is imperative for providing the child with a sense of achievement. And the second group, Rin and Shula. Rin, her role as promoting the affective factors, specifically in terms of attitude and self-confidence. And Shula, she is well aware of the interests of her students and familiar with their background knowledge in various areas. And the last group, Mary and Emma. Mary is an avid believer in the benefit of target language exposure, regardless of the learner's age. And Emma, she rejects first language needs to be utilized with young learners for creating empathy towards the language. And discussion and conclusion. The teachers' interview unveiled 2 significant differences. First is, teachers in the study seem to be aware of the amount of their first language use. And the second, decision where to engage in massive first language or target language use seem to be premeditated. And different first language or ethnic background didn't differentiate between the teacher's linguistic practice, thus substantiating previous findings. And the researchers have some suggestions for the other future studies. And they will need to look into such processes by researching assigned to first